Well, it's Alabama week, so Tennessee, orange for the next 3 days. Got to represent whether I believe we're going to win or not. I don't. Um, at any rate, so the first lesson for this week is from Exodus chapter 17. Just for frame of reference, they get to Sinai in chapter 19. The Ten Commandments are given in chapter 20. The instructions for building the tabernacle and all that stuff flow after that. So they cross the Red Sea in chapter 12. They come to the Red Sea actually in chapter 12. And so you can see kind of where we are in the narrative. And so all these great things have happened. They've celebrated coming through the Red Sea and had, the song of Moses there in chapter 14. And then now here we are not too far down the road and we got a problem. And the problem is there's no water and the people are upset. Why'd you bring us out here? You brought us out here to kill us, didn't you? We knew it. We knew it. We knew this is what you were going to do. Oh my. Been there, done that. Understand the problem. So when Moses goes to God and said, hey, they're going to stone me. And so God says, don't worry about it. Go get the staff that you parted the Nile with. Take it over to this rock. Take some of the leaders with you. Strike the rock. He does. Water comes out. One of my favorite classes in seminary was actually a whole class was on Exodus. It was a wonderful class, had an insanely good professor, a guy named Alan Ross. He was just phenomenal. And so one of the things he talked about was you'd hear liberal scholars say that, yep, this happens sometimes. Things, calcium deposits or whatever build up and you strike the rock and water will come out. He said, I've seen it actually. I've taken 36 groups into the Holy Land and I've seen this. And they're exactly right. It will happen. Enough water to fill a Dixie cup, not to water 600,000 people plus their animals. So, well, yeah, you proved something, but not quite what you thought you were proving. So, at any rate, so they get the water, and then so they've got doubts. The people have become to doubt Moses as God's leader, and they've come to doubt God. And so, what happens next is this group of people called the Amalekites come, and they decide this is an opportune time to attack this nascent group of people. And so they do. And Moses says, well, let's do this. Let me take God's staff. That's what he calls it, God's staff. It was Moses' staff because he had it way back in Exodus 2, had it back that far. And God used it in a multitude of ways. First thing he did said, throw that thing on the ground. It turns into a snake and he picks it up and it turns back into a staff. That's one of the signs that he was given to prove to the people that he was indeed God's chosen leader. And there's some other little parlor tricks that he had to do that with. And then he does the Red Sea and it turns to blood. And then he holds the staff over the water at the Red Sea and they part the Red Sea. Now he strikes the rock and now he calls it God's staff. And so he goes up on the hill and they're fighting the Amalekites down below. Moses is up above. He's holding up the staff. And as long as he's holding up the staff, everything goes well for the Israelites. If his arm gets tired and he comes down, no, not so well. So Aaron and Hur is Miriam, his sister's son. So it's his nephew. They get there and they hold his arms up and they hold his arms up until all day. And so they end up winning the war. And the way the Jewish sages understand that is they're looking to God. In the same way, if you think about that bronze serpent that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, in the same kind of way, they're having to look up and they're looking through the staff to God in faith. And so it's faith that actually does this and gets them the victory. Well, that's not the end of Amalek. Amalek continues to be a problem all through the Old Testament, to be honest with you, because the next place that you really see much about Amalek is that the nation is the nation that God says to Saul, go destroy the entire nation, don't leave anything alive. Destroy everything, the livestock and everything. And then what does Saul do? He goes out, he wins the battle, but he doesn't destroy Amalek. He doesn't destroy him at all. In fact, Samuel comes and he says, hey, what's going on? How'd it go? Well, it went pretty well. Well, what's the bleating of sheep that I hear in my ear? I shouldn't be hearing sheep. They should all be dead. Well, I kept them to sacrifice. That's not what you were told to do. Well, I was afraid of the people. So like Aaron did with the golden calf. And then finally, I'm sorry, I did it. I screwed up. Samuel says, bring the king, whose name is Agag, bring him to me. So they bring Agag to him, and Samuel hews him in pieces. You understand why that's not part of the lesson we read today. So you think, okay, that's the end of this, right? Nope, not the end of it at all. There's still one more thing that involves Amalek, and it's not as obvious. And it's in the book of Esther. So I don't know whether you know the story of Esther or not. Esther is a Jewish woman who is in Persia, and she is taken into the king and to become a king, to become a queen. Sorry, and her uncle Mordecai is sort of her supporter in this. Well, Mordecai runs afoul of a man named Haman, who was commander of the army, and the rest of the story is kind of about how this all gets sorted out because Haman wants to have Mordecai killed. And so he builds a gallows and he thinks he's got Mordecai all figured out and he's got the king all figured out and he's got the queen on his side. That's his thought. Well, it doesn't quite work out that way. The person who ends up dying on the gallows is Haman. Well, John, what's that got to do with Amalek? A lot. Agag, the king that Samuel wiped out, hewed in pieces, as it says. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Haman was an Agagite. In other words, he was from the tribe of Agag. And so the Amalekites just keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And so the Jewish sages, even down to today, see Amalek as that force in the universe, this evil force that is determined to wipe out the Israelite people from the face of the earth. And so they will see in all their opponents who decide that what they really want is to make sure that Israel is no more, people like Hitler, they will be descendants in some way, spiritual descendants of Amalek. And so the principle here, I mean, that's just interesting stuff. But the principle here is the same. The principle is keep your eyes fixed on him. Keep your eyes fixed on him. Don't worry about your enemies. God is the God of justice. He is the God who will protect you. But if not, he's got a better plan. And that's the thing is that somebody who would attack a defenseless nation like they were in that particular spot, I mean, that had to be sent right from the pit of hell. And they're in the wilderness at Rephidim. And so, again, there's the notion within Judaism and within all of spiritual ideas, within Christianity, that the wilderness is a place where the demons haunt. And so Amalek comes in the wilderness, and they decide then that they're going to attack this new nation and they're going to destroy it. Well, it's obvious that's a mission directly from Satan to do that. And when they kept their eyes on Moses, God's man, holding God's staff, which at that time was the symbol of God's presence among them because of all the things that had been done through it. This is before the tabernacle's built, before there's an Ark of the Covenant, any of that stuff, before there's even anything to put into the Ark of the Covenant, frankly. Then that's what happens. And so Satan's always there to destroy a new work, whether that's a new work in your life or a new work in general. Anything that God begins, Satan's there to try and steal and kill and destroy. And if you look at Revelation 19 or 12, sorry, you'll see that same thing with a woman who's about to give birth. And then the dragon comes to try and snatch that child away. It's always the same. Keep your eyes fixed on him. Don't worry about it. God's got it. He's in control. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.